Hello and welcome to our recording of Mishnayot Shabbat, Mishnah Concept 13, 14, and 15. Now you may be questioning before we begin, why do we have this topic here in the middle of Mishnayot Shabbat, dealing with the laws of Shabbat? The answer is that when Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi composed the Mishnah, he wanted to keep it easy to remember. So whenever there was a topic that came up in the Mishnah, he included any laws which may relate to that topic as a memory tool. So if you remember, the last Mishnah concepts were about Shabbat candles and wicks. So we're going to learn this concept about wicks becoming impure by some impurity. Okay, even though it's not necessarily about Shabbat, since the topic is about wicks, we're going to continue the discussion about wicks. Before we learn about wicks becoming impure, we need to get some laws about purity and impurity. And here are the laws. Okay, first of all, Mishnah Concept 13 tells us a dead body can make someone impure so they cannot go into the Bet HaMikdash. Means if someone touched a dead body, they wouldn't be allowed to go into the holy temple until they had gone through a purification process. Now, how does a person become impure? So a person or an object will become impure by touching the dead body with their hands or any part of their body, or even if they don't touch it, but they're under the same roof as the dead body, they will become impure, which is why Kohanim don't go into funeral parlors where there is dead bodies, so they don't become impure by being under the same roof as the dead body. Now, Mishnah Concept 14 tells us, what about the roof? Does the roof become impure from the dead body? It says no. If the roof is made of wood, it does not become impure. So the roof itself is safe from being impure. But anyone or thing that's under gets impure. Now, what about 15? What type of objects will become impure? The answer to that question is, it's only an object that's a tool or vessel. If it still needs to be completed, it will not become impure. Example, I'll draw it for you. Let's say a carpenter was in the middle of making a table. And he made a table with 3 legs. But he didn't put on the 4th leg. This one does not become impure. But if the carpenter made a table with 4 legs, he finished it, unfortunately, if that was in the room, it will become impure because it is a vessel. Now we're going to look at the Mishnah. The Mishnah begins, Masechet Shabbat, Perek Bet, Mishnah Gimel. Kol hayotze min ha'etz. Anything that comes from a tree, any type of wood. Ein madlikin bo, we may not use it to make a wick to light candles with. Meaning for Shabbat candles. Ela pishtan, except flax. There's a type of material called flax. It technically could be classified as a type of a tree, but you can make material out of that wood. It could be made into like a linen type of material. And if you use flax as your wick, it can be used to light the Shabbat candles. Now, remember, like I told you last slide, now we're jumping away from Shabbat to discuss laws of Tumah related to this wick. V'chol hayotze min ha'etz, and anything that comes from wood, ein mitamei tumat ohalim, if it's used as a tent, it's a roof over a dead body, it will not become impure. So if there's a wooden roof, it doesn't become impure. Ela pishtan, except for flax. Just like flax is an exception when it comes to lighting Shabbat candles, flax, even though it's from wood, is an exception for a roof. If you made a roof out of flax, like a tent, If there was a tent and there was a dead body in the tent, the whole tent, even the roof, would become impure. Psilat habeged, a wick made out of a cloth. Let's say someone did not have a wick and they wanted to make a wick by cutting up old clothing. So he has a little piece of old clothing or material and he wanted to make it into a wick. How would they make it? They would roll it up until it's like a stick, like a long and thin. And then they would take it and burn the tip of it. Why would they burn the tip? Because that would make it helpful to light easier. When they would light the candle later on, it would light easier because it was already singed, it was already burnt on the tip. So here's what you need to know. A wick is not considered ready until you burn the tip. So remember what I told you last slide about the table. The table is not ready till it has 4 legs. A wick is not ready till you burn the tip. So says the Mishnah, Psilat habeged, a wick made of a folded piece of garment, shekipla, which was folded, velo hivava, but was not burnt on the tip. Rabbi Eliezer says, Timeya, can become impure because it's already considered finished. It's like a table, even though he didn't burn the tip, Rabbi Eliezer says it's good enough. It's like a table with 4 legs. You can use it. So it could become impure if it's in a room with a dead body. Ve'ein madlikin ba, but you cannot light with it on Yom Tov. Why wouldn't you be allowed to light with it on Yom Tov? Here's a separate concept. Yom Tov, you're not allowed to create anything new. So even though you're allowed to light candles on Yom Tov, you're not allowed to create anything new. So since the wick is not finished 100%, Rabbi Eliezer says you cannot light the tip on Yom Tov because then you're creating a finished wick. Okay? So Rabbi Eliezer's logic is that it's finished enough to be tamei, to be impure, but it's not finished enough to allow you to light it on Yom Tov because you're still finishing off the wick and you're not allowed to fix or finish things on Yom Tov. Rabbi Akiva says, Tahora, the wick is considered pure. That means it's not finished. If the tip is not burnt, it's not finished. Umadlikin ba, and he allows you to light with it. He allows you to light with it. Now that may seem strange, since why would you be allowed to light with it, according to Rabbi Akiva, if we said you cannot fix a vessel on Yom Tov? So in the commentary it explains that Rabbi Akiva holds that once you fold it up, it's no longer a garment anymore, and therefore that's why it doesn't receive purity. And when you light it, even though it makes it into a wick, because it wasn't anymore a garment, it wasn't anymore a piece of clothing, it's not like you're fixing the piece of cloth. The cloth was already taken away from its status of being of a cloth. If that's understandable to you, good. If not, just know it's not so relevant to the ongoing discussion of this Mishnah, which is mainly Shabbat. It's an aside discussion about the laws of Tumah. So again, flax is good for a Shabbat candle wick, but any wood is not. Once we're on that topic, any wood could make any wood, if it's over a dead body, is not become impure, but since flax is an exception, if you made a tent out of flax, it would become impure. When it comes to a wick, what if you made a wick out of a piece of clothing? Rabbi Eliezer says that just by folding it makes it into a wick, and you don't have to light the tip of it. But since lighting the tip of it will fix a vessel, you can't do that on a Chag, on a Yom Tov. Rabbi Akiva says that folding it does not make it into a finished wick, so therefore it will be tahor, but it's no longer a garment, so you can light with it on Chag, and you don't have to worry that you're fixing something on the Chag.